Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We're diving into what's basically considered the Big Bang of modern Scottish football. We're going to explore this incredible moment that, well, it wasn't just a simple sporting transaction. No, it was a massive, ground-shaking social earthquake. Today, we're getting into the truly gripping story of Mo Johnston and the absolute demolition of the Glasgow divide. So, think about this for a second. The core question we really have to ask ourselves today is, what happens when an unbreakable 100-year-old rule is just suddenly shattered? To truly wrap our heads around the answer to that, we've got to drop ourselves right into the incredibly tense world of 1980s Glasgow. And I mean, the stakes here, they genuinely couldn't have been higher. We are talking about a social structure so deeply ingrained that challenging it just seemed, well, completely unimaginable.
All right, setting the stage here. Section 1. The invisible barbed wire.
You see, back in the 1980s, the world of Scottish football operated under what our source brilliantly calls a geography of the mind. The old firm rivalry between Rangers and Celtic, it wasn't just about simple neighborhood boundaries. It was more like this line of invisible but totally impenetrable barbed wire. These weren't just football clubs, you know. They operated as deeply personal identities that had been carved into stone for well over a century.
It was an absolute binary system. You were either blue, Protestant, and supported Rangers, or you were green, Catholic, and supported Celtic. It was stark, and it was absolute. Crossing this divide, that wasn't just frowned upon. It was considered a complete social impossibility. It was viewed as this ultimate betrayal that would basically guarantee total ostracization from your own community. There was literally zero gray area here.
Which brings us to the spark that lit the powder keg. Section 2. The unthinkable transfer. Enter the catalyst for an enormous paradigm shift. Graeme Souness takes over as the manager of Rangers, and he is eager to modernize. He comes in fresh from Liverpool, and he's got three main goals on his agenda. He wants to break the perceived insularity of the club. He wants to modernize the squad, and, most shockingly for the time, he wants to completely dismantle the traditional recruitment policies. For generations, this unwritten rule had essentially kept Catholic players out of the Rangers' ranks. Souness, he wanted to tear that sectarian ceiling down entirely.
And that brings us to the guy right at the center of this storm, Mo Johnston. He was a former Celtic striker and a certified, undeniable hero to their fans. I mean, this was a player who had openly kissed the Celtic badge, scored critical goals against Rangers, and was just absolutely beloved by the Parkhead faithful. He had incredibly deep roots with the green side of Glasgow, which, well, it makes his next move so incredibly shocking.
The events of the summer of 1989 literally read like a tense thriller movie. So, Johnston departs his French club, Nantes. Shortly after that, the Celtic board actually holds a highly public press conference to announce his triumphant return. The fans are ecstatic, right? They think their hero is finally coming home. But then, just days later, the whole deal goes completely dark, utter silence. Nobody knows what's going on. Until July 1989, when the unthinkable happens. There's this shocking reveal at Ibrox Stadium, the home of Rangers, with Mo Johnston standing right there holding a blue Rangers scarf.
So, what happens next? Section 3. The immediate backlash.
Man, as you can probably imagine, the fallout from that single visual of Johnston and Ibrox was visceral. It was instantaneous, and it was truly explosive from both sides of the Glasgow divide. Our source text actually captures the sheer magnitude of this moment perfectly, stating, "He detonated a social earthquake that sent shockwaves far beyond the pitch." This wasn't just a sports headline. It was the most controversial transfer in British sporting history, period. But the really crucial point here is how uniquely isolating this whole thing was for Johnston personally. He effectively made himself the most hated man in Scotland overnight, and that anger, it was coming from everywhere. He was rejected simultaneously by Rangers fans who were furious about signing a known Celtic man and fiercely resisting integration, and by Celtic fans who felt utterly, deeply betrayed by their former hero. The intense hostility of his new reality was just undeniable. Just picture his debut. He literally had to be escorted into the stadium by heavy security. The atmosphere wasn't one of, sporting excitement. It was this heavy feeling of deep, underlying social fracture. And when he actually stepped onto the pitch, a massive cacophony of whistles and jeers. But the wildest part is that those jeers were coming from both sets of supporters. His own new fans were really struggling to reconcile their history with this new integrated reality.
Let's look at the big picture now. Section 4. Shattering the status quo.
So how did this massive paradigm shift actually impact Scottish football and society in the macro sense? Well, you really couldn't script the irony any better if you tried. Despite the immense, frankly suffocating pressure, Johnston handled it with incredible grit. In his very first Old Firm derby as a Rangers player, playing directly against his former beloved club Celtic, he scores a last-minute winner. It's this moment of pure cinematic irony that forever sealed his place in the history books.
And that moment, it built into a lasting echo. By successfully bringing Johnston into the squad and getting results, Graeme Souness broke a decades-old taboo that had been seriously stifling the club's potential. More broadly, it proved to everyone that those unspoken sectarian hiring policies were simply no longer viable in a modern, competitive professional league. It systematically forced integration and signaled that, ultimately, professional ambition and the drive to win were going to supersede the rigid tribalism of the past.
Fast forward to today, and this single transfer is universally viewed as the big bang of modern Scottish football recruitment. Now, to be totally clear, our source notes that it didn't just instantly cure all the sectarian tensions in Glasgow overnight. I mean, that required decades more of education and social reform. But what it did do was burn the bridge back to the old ways forever. The unwritten rules were absolutely shattered, leaving no way for the city to ever return to the way things were.
Which leaves us with this deeply provocative question. This historic transfer forced fans to look in the mirror and answer something for the first time in 100 years. Do you support the badge, or do you support the ideology? It's a truly fascinating clash between tribalism and professional ambition, all sparked by an unwilling pioneer who just walked across the divide. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope diving into this history helped unpack the incredible weight behind this moment. Keep learning, stay curious, and I'll catch you next time.